Let's take a look at the Garmin Alpha Mini TT15 collar. The Mini TT15 is the newest collar designed for use with the Garmin Alpha Track and Train GPS system. The Mini collar was designed for your extremely small dogs. It'll go down to a 9.5-inch neck and fit comfortably so that you can get good e-collar contact. And that's important with a training collar. Unlike a tracking collar, which can be a little loose on the dog's neck, with a training collar, you've got to have skin contact with your probes, and so the collar's got to go down small enough. And what we were running into, this is your big collar. This is a regular TT15. This is a Mini TT15. And what we were running into is, first off, you can see this is as small as both of these collars will go. So you've got a substantially smaller neck size here. But then you've also got, while it's not extreme, the weight difference is about 3 ounces. And on a really small dog, that can make a little bit of a difference. But the problem that we were running into was that you couldn't get this down small enough to fit onto small dog's neck, especially the little beagles. That's the biggest thing that we've run into. But it also makes a difference on some of your smaller bird dogs, some of your smaller squirrel dogs, just your little bitty dogs. You know, this is a lot for them to carry around. So Garmin developed the Mini collars. 9.5-inch neck is how small it'll go. It's not for everybody. I don't want people to go, hey, it's a small collar so I can put it on my giant dog. Right now, I'm telling folks 9.5 inches to about 14 is what I'm going to recommend. You'll notice this is your GPS antenna. And as you start to get out to the bigger necks, you're going to start to get this on the side of the dog's neck. Now, we've had that before in older versions of the Astro, but we really prefer that the GPS antenna be on top. You're going to get a lot better signal reception. So as you get up into the larger necks, this is what you end up with. So I'm going to say 14 inches is about the maximum that I'm going to recommend that people go with this. So that's going to cover a lot of them. Several of my bird dogs can comfortably wear this collar. But the other problem that you run into with a dog with a larger neck is that when you get all this on the side here, you're going to start to get some rotation. And while that's not a gigantic deal, you'll probably still be able to get GPS reception. Notice what your antenna does. That's not good. So small dog, you actually get really great antenna placement. That's perfect. And so, you know, you want to use this on the smaller dogs. With a smaller system, there's two different things that we're looking at. You're going to have less range, and you're going to have lower battery life. And in a GPS system, that's not ideal. But for the really small dogs, it's just sort of the nature of it. Let's talk about battery life first. With a regular TT15 collar in the 2.5-second mode, 24 hours runtime when it kicks into rescue mode. The Mini TT15 on battery life is going to get about 16. You're talking 8 hours less. Now, 16 hours is a full day for everybody, so it's just a trade-off that you really have to just kind of come to terms with. I'm okay with it. But that kind of goes back to what I was talking about. With the larger dog, there's just not a big advantage to going with a small collar. I'd rather have the longer battery life. So if you have a dog, 14 inches and above, I'm going to go with the bigger collar. Range is going to be the other trade-off. Garmin lists the Mini TT15 as having a maximum range of 4 miles. 4 miles maximum range. And they list the TT15, the regular size collar, as having a maximum range of 9 miles. Now, I've always felt the 9 miles was pretty optimistic. I have never been able to get 9 miles out of the system. The most I've ever done with an external antenna is about 6.5. So far, all of our tests on the Mini collar, it has matched up exactly with the big collar. I mean, it's going toe-to-toe with the big collar, everything that we have done. But I went back and talked to the engineers at Garmin to get an answer for that because I didn't understand why they were, in my opinion, underselling the Mini collars. And what I was told is that in the 4 mile, 5 mile range and down, this collar is going to work about the same. But when you get up into that longer range, when you get past that 5 mile sort of range, that this one's going to drop off more than the larger collar. There's just not a lot of situations where you're going to get that kind of range out of GPS system. So right now I'm a little up in the air on what we're going to say range-wise on it. Garmin says this one's 4 and this one's 9. So far, the most I've gotten so far out of this collar is 4.5. But I haven't replicated the situation where I've gotten 6.5 yet. So we'll see. But so far, range-wise, I'm pretty happy with it. So going back to it, if you've got a small dog, this is perfect. If you've got a bigger dog, I would stick with the larger collar. Everything else about him is pretty much the same. 2 new features. The mini collars have a bark sensor so that you can know when your dog's barking or baying. And the TT15 has what's called a sleep mode. Sleep mode was designed to allow you to shut the collar down. The way it was presented to me was that if your dog's out and you can track him but you can't get to him and you're worried about your battery life running out, then you can activate sleep mode, the collar will quit transmitting, and you can come back in the morning and reactivate it. In my opinion, that's a pretty bad idea. If you have a location on the dog, you need to get to him as fast as you can. So I can see where you could use sleep mode if you're going from hunting spot to hunting spot and you want to power down your collar without having to actually cut it off, then sleep mode's valuable. I would not shut down a collar on a dog that I'm tracking and trying to find the next day. Beyond that, works pretty much the same. It is compatible with all the collars that are out there. You can run them together. If you have big dogs and small dogs and you want one of each, you can do that. You can still run it with the TT10s. And it also has the same feature where you can run it as a tracking only collar on the Garmin Astro.